Welcome to the Gentle Weight of Raindrops, a peaceful and soothing sleep story crafted to help you unwind and drift into restful slumber. We're so glad you've chosen to spend this quiet time with us. If you find comfort and calm in our stories, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more gentle narratives like this one. Before we join Isobel in her cozy cottage, we'll begin with a short breathing guidance to help ease you into a state of deep relaxation. If you'd prefer to immerse yourself directly in the story, you can find timestamps for each chapter conveniently listed in the description below. Please, take a moment now to find a truly comfortable position. Allow your body the simple luxury of settling deeply into your bed or chair, feeling the support beneath you, holding you securely. Adjust your pillows, smooth your blankets, creating a haven of softness and ease just for you. This is your quiet interlude, a time to gently release the day's thoughts and tensions. Let the idea of soft rain, the warmth of a hearth, and the quiet turning of pages wash over you, inviting tranquility into this present moment. Let's invite a calming breath together now. Inhale slowly and gently through your nose, feeling the air fill your lungs without effort, cool and clean. Then exhale softly through your mouth, perhaps like a quiet sigh, letting the breath carry away any lingering tightness. With each cycle of breath, notice your shoulders softening, your jaw relaxing, the muscles around your eyes smoothing out. Imagine the gentle weight of a comforting blanket settling over you, bringing a sense of warmth and heaviness that encourages release. Picture raindrops tracing paths down a window pane, each drop a tiny release, washing the glass clean. If your mind wanders, as minds often do, simply acknowledge the thought without judgment, like noticing a cloud drifting by, and gently guide your attention back. Return to the sensation of your breath flowing in and out, or to the quiet sound of my voice. There is nothing else required of you right now but to rest, to listen, and to allow the gentle rhythm of the story to guide you towards sleep. Feel the steady, calming cadence of the rain described in the story, letting it soothe your mind and body, washing away the edges of the day. Let this simple piece of Briarwood Cottage become your own peaceful space as you prepare for rest. Chapter 1. The First Drops. The world outside Briarwood Cottage awoke not with the sharp clarity of sunlight, but with a soft, diffused gray glow. Isobel stirred, her senses gradually registering the sound that had woven itself into the fabric of her dreams. The gentle, persistent patter of rain on the old roof tiles above. It wasn't a hushed drumming, but a soft, encompassing murmur, a sound that spoke of quiet enclosure and the turning inward of the day. She lay still for a moment, listening, feeling the familiar comfort of her quilt, the smooth coolness of the cotton sheet against her skin. There was no urgency to rise, no bright sun beckoning her outdoors. Today invited slowness, a gentle yielding to the weather's soft insistence. Pushing back the covers, Isobel patted across the cool wooden floorboards, the slight chill prompting her to reach for her thickest woolen socks, their familiar texture a small comfort against the morning air. The large bay window in the main room was beaded with moisture, the garden beyond softened and slightly blurred, colors muted under the overcast sky. The roses drooped slightly under the accumulating weight of the water, their petals glistening. Even the sturdy lavender bushes seemed to bow their heads in quiet acceptance. Isobel smiled faintly, A rain day had its own unique beauty, a different kind of light, a different kind of peace. It was a day for indoor comforts, for quiet observation. Her morning ritual shifted subtly on days like this. Instead of the brisk walk around the garden, she moved toward the small kitchen alcove. The familiar actions were soothing, filling the kettle with fresh cold water, the gurgle as it poured, the click of the switch. While the water heated, she selected her tea, not the usual black tea, but chamomile, its promise of calm seeming apt for the day. She spooned the dried, fragrant blossoms into her favorite earthenware teapot, shaped like a plump bird. The kettle began its low hum, gradually building to a gentle boil. The steam, when she poured the water over the chamomile, rose in a fragrant cloud, carrying the delicate apple-like scent that always reminded her of peaceful evenings. She carried the small tray teapot, strainer, and her preferred mug, wide and comforting to hold back to the main room. Before settling, she retrieved a soft, dove-gray cardigan from a hook by the door. Slipping it on felt like adding another layer of warmth, another layer of gentle defense against the dampness that seemed to seep into the very air. Finally, she curled into her armchair, positioning it slightly to get the best view from the bay window. The chair sighed faintly under her weight, its familiar springs and worn fabric molding to her shape. It felt like an old friend, a silent companion for countless quiet hours. Isobel poured her tea, the pale golden liquid swirling into the mug. She cradled it in both hands, letting the warmth seep into her fingers, a comforting anchor in the cool room. Outside, the rain continued its steady rhythm, a soft percussion section playing just for her. She watched a robin take shelter beneath the broad leaves of the rhubarb patch, its feathers ruffled but seemingly content. The sound of the rain was not monotonous. She could discern subtle shifts, a slightly heavier drumming, as a breeze perhaps stirred the trees, a softer whisper against the glass. She took a slow sip of her tea. The warmth spread downwards, a gentle wave of comfort. The chamomile was soft on her palate, soothing. She let her gaze drift across the rain-washed scene. The colors seemed deeper, richer. The vibrant green of the moss on the stone wall, the dark, damp bark of the old apple tree, the surprising brightness of a few late-blooming fuchsia bells heavy with water. There was a quietude to the world, a sense of everything holding its breath, simply receiving the gentle weight of the rain. Isobel felt her own breathing deepen, slowing to match the calm rhythm of the day. She closed her eyes for a moment, just listening, feeling the peaceful embrace of her small cottage, a warm, dry haven in the midst of this soft gray morning. The day stretched ahead, unhurried, promising simple moments of quiet contentment. Chapter 2. Reflections in Puddles. The rain showed no signs of stopping as the morning gently eased towards midday. It fell with a soft consistency, transforming the gravel path leading to Isobel's door into a mosaic of shimmering puddles. From her vantage point in the armchair, tea long finished, but the empty mug still warming her hands, Isobel watched them form and grow. It was a quiet, mesmerizing spectacle. Each raindrop landed with a tiny splash, sending out concentric rings that shivered across the surface, met others, and vanished, only to be replaced by new ones in an endless fluid dance. The puddles acted like quicksilver mirrors, reflecting the soft gray canvas of the sky. Intrigued by the shifting images, Isobel retrieved her sketchbook and a soft pencil from the nearby bookshelf. She rarely drew, but sometimes the mood struck, usually prompted by a particular quality of light or an interesting natural form. Today, it was the puddles. She opened the sketchbook to a clean page, the paper smooth and inviting beneath her fingertips. She didn't try for perfect representation, but rather sought to capture the feeling of the reflections, the elongated, wavering shapes of the overhanging branches, the occasional bright flash as a drop caught the light, just so, the merging circles. Her pencil moved quietly across the page, the soft scratching sound a gentle counterpoint to the rain's patter. She became absorbed in the task, noticing details she might otherwise have missed. The way the color of the reflected sky seemed deeper, more concentrated than the sky itself. How the edges of the puddles were softened by the damp earth, blurring the line between water and path. A single fallen leaf floated in one puddle, a small dark boat on a shimmering gray sea. Sketching them felt like a form of meditation, a way of truly seeing the quiet beauty in this simple rain-induced phenomenon. It wasn't about creating a masterpiece, but about the act of observation itself, the slowing down, the gentle focus. After a while, she set the sketchbook aside, feeling a quiet sense of satisfaction. The air in the room felt a little close, heavy with the scent of old paper and the lingering aroma of chamomile. Isobel rose and went to the bay window, unlatching one of the smaller side panels and opening it just a crack. Immediately the sounds of the rain became clearer, more distinct, the splash on the stone windowsill, the murmur through the leaves, and with the sound came the scent, petrichor, that unique, clean, earthy smell of rain meeting dry ground, mingling now with the sweeter fragrance of damp foliage. She inhaled deeply, letting the cool, fresh air fill her lungs, a welcome contrast to the indoor warmth. It felt invigorating, cleansing. She stood there for several minutes, one hand resting on the cool wood of the window frame, simply breathing and listening. The garden seemed alive with sound, yet utterly peaceful. A blackbird, bolder than the robin, hopped across the lawn, pausing occasionally to tug at an unseen worm, seemingly unbothered by the persistent drizzle. The world felt washed, clean, hushed, holding its breath under the gentle veil of rain. Isobel felt a sense of connection to it, even from her dry perch indoors. The open window blurred the boundary slightly, letting the outside in, not as an intrusion, but as a welcome guest. Closing the window gently, she retained the freshness in her senses. The brief exposure to the cooler, damper air made the warmth of her cottage feel even more comforting. She glanced back at her armchair, the woolen cardigan draped over its back, the open book nearby. The scene was one of profound peace, a small sanctuary against the elements. The rain, far from being melancholy, felt like a blessing, a permission slip to slow down, to turn inward, to simply be. She decided against making lunch just yet. The quiet rhythm of the morning was too precious to break. Instead, she picked up her book again, ready to lose herself in its pages, cocooned in the gentle sounds and sights of the rainy day. The puddles outside continued their silent, shimmering dance. Chapter 3. Hearthside Comforts. As the afternoon wore on, the gray light outside seemed to deepen, taking on a softer, more shadowed quality. The rain persisted, a steady, gentle drumming that had become the day's soothing soundtrack. Inside Briarwood Cottage, a subtle chill began to creep into the air, the kind that seeps from old stone walls on damp days. Isobel decided it was time for the hearth. She enjoyed the small ritual of building a fire, especially when the weather encouraged it. It felt elemental, comforting, a connection to simpler times. She went to the wood basket beside the hearth, selecting a few pieces of seasoned birch and some smaller bits of kindling. The wood felt dry and solid in her hands, promising warmth. Kneeling on the hearth rug, its woven texture slightly rough beneath her knees, she carefully arranged the kindling in a small pyramid, tucking twists of newspaper underneath. Then she placed 2 smaller logs alongside, leaving space for air to circulate. The process was familiar, unhurried. Striking a long match, she held the flame to the paper, watching as it caught, curled, and blackened, tiny orange embers spreading upwards into the kindling. A wisp of smoke curled up the chimney, followed by the tentative crackle of the kindling catching alight. Isobel watched, feeding a slightly larger piece of wood onto the fledgling flames. Slowly, patiently, the fire grew, small tongues of orange licking at the birch logs. The gentle crackling sound filled the quiet room, a warm, lively counterpoint to the rain's soft rhythm. Soon, a steady, radiant heat began to push back the coolness, creating a pool of warmth around the hearth. The firelight cast flickering shadows on the stone surround, making the familiar textures seem new and dynamic. The air filled with the faint, pleasant scent of burning wood. Satisfied, Isobel settled back into her armchair, angling it slightly toward the fire. She pulled a soft, knitted throw blanket over her lap, its weight comforting, its texture soft against her hands. The combination of the fire's warmth, the cozy blanket, and the continuous soft sound of the rain outside created a profound sense of sanctuary. It felt like being inside a safe, warm shell while the world outside was washed clean. She picked up her book of poetry, finding her place with a worn ribbon bookmark. The poems were familiar, like old friends, their words offering gentle insights and quiet beauty. She read slowly, pausing often. Sometimes a line would resonate, prompting her to lower the book and gaze into the flames, letting the words settle. The fire danced and shifted, mesmerizing in its constant movement, casting shifting patterns of light on the ceiling and walls. The sound of a log settling with a soft sigh, the occasional pop and hiss, blended seamlessly with the rain's gentle cadence against the window panes. Other times, she would simply listen, letting the dual sounds, the inner warmth of the fire, the outer coolness of the rain, wash over her. Her breathing was slow and even, her shoulders relaxed. The gentle heat from the fire seemed to penetrate deeper than just her skin, warming her very core, easing away any tension she hadn't realized she was holding. Time seemed to slow down, measured not by a clock, but by the turning of pages, the consumption of logs, the steady fall of rain. She felt completely present, absorbed in the simple sensory experiences of the moment, the warmth on her face, the weight of the blanket, the smell of wood smoke, the gentle sounds filling the air, the feel of the smooth paper beneath her fingertips. There was no need to be anywhere else, no desire to do anything more demanding. This quiet containment, this hearthside comfort on a rainy afternoon, was enough. It was a deep, uncomplicated peace, found not in grand events, but in the humble sensory richness of a simple, slow afternoon embraced by the gentle weight of raindrops and the soft glow of the fire. Chapter 4. The Language of Leaves. Later in the afternoon, nestled deep in her armchair with the fire whispering softly beside her, Isobel found her attention drawn back to the window and the intricate ballet being performed in her garden. The rain had lessened slightly, becoming more of a persistent drizzle than a downpour, allowing for finer details to emerge. She became fascinated, not just by the rain itself, but by how the different plants interacted with it, each speaking its own silent, leafy language in response to the moisture. Her gaze settled on the large, heart-shaped leaves of the hosta plants near the stone wall. They acted like shallow green bowls, catching and holding the raindrops, creating tiny, shimmering pools on their broad surfaces. When a pool became too full, it would spill over the edge in a miniature cascade, a brief, glistening waterfall onto the darker leaves below. It was a slow, patient process of collection and release, a quiet demonstration of capacity and overflow. Isobel watched, captivated by the simple natural mechanism. The leaves transformed into temporary vessels. Then her eyes moved to the delicate fronds of the ferns growing in the shadier corner beneath the apple tree. Unlike the sturdy hostas, the ferns trembled under the impact of each drop. Their finely cut leaves seemed too fragile to hold the water. Instead, they shuddered delicately, shedding the moisture almost instantly. Each frond seemed to vibrate with a life of its own, responding to the rain with a nervous yet graceful energy. Watching them felt like observing a sensitive instrument registering the day's gentle rhythm. The contrast with the stoic hostas was striking, highlighting the diverse strategies within her small garden ecosystem. Nearby, the glossy, dark green leaves of the rhododendron bush offered yet another response. Their smooth, waxy surfaces repelled the water efficiently. Raindrops landed, beaded up into perfect spheres for a fleeting moment, reflecting the gray light like tiny jewels, and then rolled off cleanly, leaving the leaf surface glistening but unburdened. It was a display of effortless shedding, of letting go, the water tracing quick silvery paths before dripping onto the damp earth below. Isobel found herself admiring their resilience, their ability to remain untouched while still participating in the rainy day. This quiet observation became a form of study. She noticed the way water clung to the fuzzy leaves of the lamb's ear plant, giving them a silvery sheen, and how the tall grasses bent low under the accumulated weight, only to spring back slightly as the water dripped off. Each plant, each leaf structure had its own relationship with the rain, its own way of receiving and responding. It was a silent conversation, a complex interplay of texture, shape, and gravity, unfolding just outside her window. Feeling a gentle nudge of hunger, Isobel decided to prepare a simple soup. The thought of warm broth felt perfectly suited to the damp, cozy atmosphere. In the kitchen alcove, she gathered carrots, celery, and a small onion. The rhythmic chop-chop-chop of the knife on the wooden cutting board became another layer in the day's soundscape, a soft, domestic percussion accompanying the rain's gentle drumming. She added the vegetables to a pot with some vegetable stock, the aroma slowly beginning to rise and mingle with the scents of wood smoke and damp earth. The quiet bubbling of the soup on the stove was another comforting sound, promising warmth and nourishment. She stirred it occasionally, watching the colors soften and blend, feeling a simple satisfaction in the act of preparation, another quiet rhythm within the larger rhythm of the rainy day. Chapter 5. Evening Stillness, Morning Promise. As dusk began to gently smudge the edges of the day, the rain finally softened, transitioning from a steady drizzle to an intermittent, almost hesitant whisper. against the glass. The world outside grew darker, the details of the garden slowly dissolving into shades of gray and deep green. Inside Briarwood Cottage, the fire had burned low, leaving a bed of glowing embers that pulsed with gentle warmth, casting a soft reddish light into the cozy room. Isobel finished her simple soup, the warmth spreading through her, a comforting anchor as the day wound down. She decided against lighting the main lamps, preferring the softer illumination. From the mantelpiece, she took down a single beeswax candle in a simple ceramic holder. Placing it on the small table beside her armchair, she struck a match, the flare momentarily bright before settling into the steady, small flame of the candle wick. The candlelight cast long, flickering shadows, making the familiar room seem quieter, more intimate. The flame reflected in the darkened window pane, now a mirror, showing the cozy interior of the armchair, the sleeping embers, the glint of the brass fire irons rather than the rain-washed world outside. Isobel poured herself a mug of warm milk, adding a tiny drop of honey that dissolved into a sweet swirl. She cradled the warm mug, returning to her armchair, pulling the soft throw blanket up around her shoulders again. The sounds of the day were fading. The rain was now just an occasional soft tap against the glass, like a tentative fingertip. The fire settled with a final soft sigh, the embers glowing like sleeping jewels. The only other sound was the quiet whisper of the candle flame and her own gentle breathing. She sat in the quiet stillness, not reading, not sketching, simply being. She listened to the profound quiet that follows a long rain, a quiet filled with the subtle sounds of dripping eaves and the earth slowly absorbing the moisture. The air felt clean and settled, both inside and out. She thought back over the day, the mesmerizing dance of the puddles, the varied language of the leaves, the comforting warmth of the fire, the simple pleasure of warm soup and reading poetry. It had been a day of simple things, yet it felt full, restorative. The gentle weight of the raindrops had washed not just the garden, but also her mind, leaving behind a sense of calm clarity. Leaning her head back against the soft cushion of the chair, Isobel felt pleasant heaviness in her limbs, the gentle pull toward sleep, the warmth of the milk, the dim light, the deep quiet. It was all conspiring to lull her into rest. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for her small cottage, for the peace it offered, for the simple beauty she could find just by looking out her window or tending her hearth. She didn't feel lonely. The quiet companionship of the house, the garden, and the gentle weather felt complete. With a soft sigh of contentment, she eventually rose, blew out the candle, plunging the room into near darkness, save for the faint, dying glow from the hearth. She made her way to her small bedroom, the floorboards cool beneath her feet. As she settled into bed, pulling the covers up, she could just hear the faintest intermittent drip from somewhere outside. It was a soothing, final lullaby. She closed her eyes, feeling the gentle weight of tiredness settle over her, as comforting as the rain had been throughout the day. She drifted off to sleep easily, peacefully, anticipating the fresh, clean world the morning light might reveal, washed anew by the gentle weight of the rain.